Estranged. This is classified as a horror movie, but there's actually absolutely nothing scary about it. In fact, it wasn't even tense at all to me. It was not what I was expecting it would be. I was expecting a lot more from this. It was pretty disappointing. I was actually falling asleep while watching it. It could have been so much more tense, but it ended up being like the typical predictable story about a crazy family. It's about this girl. She's in a motorcycle accident with her boyfriend, and she gets amnesia, and he doesn't really know what to do with her, so he decides to go to her family. He thinks that might help her regain some of her memories, if she spends time with her family, who he knows nothing about. The only thing he knows is that she left that family a few years ago, and she hasn't spoken about them or anything. So he's like, okay, maybe she was just like a troubled teenager that wanted to rebel and run away from home, but now she's a grown-up, maybe they can get along, and he brings her home. And then it turns out that they're fucking crazy. But honestly, like, the story made no sense throughout the whole thing. Like, right at the end, you're given the explanation of what the hell is happening, and it's like, oh, that still doesn't really make a lot of sense. I get it, but it's not interesting anymore. I don't care. By the time you actually get the explanation of what the hell is happening, I was like so over it at that point. And I could not for the life of me, I don't know, did I miss something? But the event that kicks everything off, I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand what was happening. It's basically, there's a picture, there's like a painting in the living room of the whole family, and the girl's like, oh, who painted that? And they're like, oh, your sister painted that from an old photo. I'm like, okay, that's sweet. That's not crazy. They miss their daughter, and they're just like, let's paint a picture. And then she finds a photo of the picture that's painted, and she isn't there. And then she freaks out, and I'm like, is that like the piece of evidence that brings everything together? Like, she wasn't in the picture, so what? Like, they just decided to put her up there so that the whole family could be together. I get that they're crazy, but that wasn't like a piece of evidence that was important, was it? I mean, she found a different picture that she was in that was like composed, I guess. Whatever. Basically, they just put her in the picture even though she wasn't there. But that doesn't mean that, like, she was fine with them at first, and then that really, like, set her off. The fact that she wasn't in the original picture, that means that they're crazy. I couldn't understand her logic at all after that. I couldn't understand why that was, like, the main piece of evidence. Maybe I missed something. I was falling asleep, like, no joke. I was falling asleep. I was so tired. I watched this on Friday. I had, like, a long day, and I was falling asleep, and maybe I missed something, but I was trying to pay attention. It was just like, crazy family. The acting was alright. The brother was really bad. The brother had like a little, he had like a little bit of little finger going on, and it wasn't working for him at all. And then, I basically, even though it made no sense, the story at first, I basically called what was happening. I was like, oh, I think this is what's happening, even though it made no sense, really. I was like, I think this is happening, and I was right. But again, by the time you're giving the explanation, I was just over it, and this movie's getting, like, a lot of praise, and being, like, it's a horror movie. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not even that tense to me. Nothing happens for 40 minutes. Oh, and she's in a wheelchair, right? And I really liked how they used the fact that she's in a wheelchair. She could sort of move her legs. It hurt her a lot. She could sort of use like crutches to sort of move around a little bit, but it was really painful for her. So, the family kept her in the house, and she kept walking to and from places trying to get stronger. And I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a thing. She's gonna, like, make herself stronger. It's sort of like what happened in a Tiger House with Effie from Skins, Kaya Scolario, when she was a gymnast that was injured and she had to, like, use her injured leg. So I thought it was gonna be something like that, like, oh, it's gonna be interesting. How is she gonna, run away from these people or whatever it is that's happening? But she just started running. Like, she was totally fine all of a sudden. And I understand, like, they clearly showed that time has passed. They clearly showed that time has passed, but it's like they showed and they made a point to show that she was still struggling, like, standing up and walking normally. Like, she was still struggling with that. And then all of a sudden she can run perfectly fine, and she can just get off the wheelchair perfectly fine. It's like, I understand that she was recovering for a few months and she's better than she was before, but this is ridiculous. Like, and I mean, it was so bizarre because they made a point to show that she was recovering. They made a point to show that she was walking every day little by little. And then suddenly she's totally fine. It's like, did more time pass? I have no idea. I don't think so. So that was just bizarre to me. It's like, oh shit, we need her to run away. We need her to be able to use her legs. Let's just have her use her legs. Like, she's fine, right? It's only been like a few months since her accident. She's totally fine. It was just bizarre. And the passage of time in this movie was just bizarre. And yeah, the family's, like, motivation for what they were doing, it was just totally confusing to me. That was, like, glossed over. And they have a butler whose character is literally the exposition character. His job is to give you the details. His job is to tell you the story that you aren't able to find out for yourself from watching the movie. And I fucking hate that. If you cannot find out what's happening without having a character explain it to you, then you're not doing a good job with exposition. We should be able to understand what's happening through dialogue between some characters, through imagery, through, I don't know, just making our conclusions. That's fine. I don't need to know every detail if the story makes sense. This story made no goddamn sense, and they threw in the butler that's like, okay, this is what happened, and it was just so random. Like, shit's going down. We're trying to survive here, and he's just, like, giving the exposition because, oh shit, the movie's ending, we need to explain what happened. Again, it's not a terrible movie. It went by pretty quickly, but it wasn't that great. Honestly, I was expecting a lot more. When I watched the trailer, it looked interesting. It looked like, okay, this girl is gonna get, like, mixed up with her crazy family, and it's gonna be like a mystery, and I was really interested in what's the secret in this house. And it was like this beautiful, gorgeous house that clearly looks haunted. It's one of those, like, mansions with, like, the giant forest and the lawn and everything. It was a gorgeous house, and I was like, okay, there's potential in this, because houses like this, they create a mood, and I really loved the house. I loved the setting, but then the mystery was, like, not that interesting at all. And they tried to set it up with, like, some little flashbacks and little hints at things, and I thought that there was going to be something more, and at the end of the day, it wasn't that interesting at all. So, Estranged, yeah, British horror. It wasn't horror at all. Like, I don't know why they keep saying that. Horror is something that should scare you. There was absolutely nothing scary about this. It wasn't even that tense, honestly. At no point did I care about anything, because I knew that, like, I knew what the ending was gonna be. I called it. So there was at no point did I actually care about any of these characters. So, yeah.
Is this where you grew up?
I can't remember.
Welcome to Rise! January? I'm so glad you're home.
You can't remember anything before the accident?
Nothing. And she hugged me. Nothing came back.
Good. That's it. This is our home. We can't all run away when we feel like it.
Something doesn't feel right. Didn't I ever tell you why I left?
No, you wouldn't talk about it.
Come on, I'm your bro.
Are you?
You don't think so?
Callum! Where is he?
Sometimes sacrifices have to be made. To protect the ones you love.
I am tired of you behaving like an outsider.
Who are you?
We are your family. You don't need anyone else. January, we love you.